Move along. Proverbs 2. Again, reading from the New American Standard Bible. And yeah. My son, if you will receive my words and treasure my commandments within you, make your ear attentive to wisdom, incline your heart to understanding. For if you cry out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, or give your voice for understanding, that's an interesting translation there, a translation note. Verse 4, if you seek her as so... Sorry. Thor wants to say hi to the microphone now. Awesome. Awesome. If you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. Let's go ahead and highlight that. If you seek her as silver and search for her as if it was hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. We shouldn't just blow past that. that's a very important thing to think about, that we are, by seeking out wisdom, that leads us to that understanding of the fear of the Lord, of what we should be appropriately doing and not doing there. So, just a a cool notion there. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice, and he watches over the way of his godly ones. That there in verse 8 is pretty cool. He watches over the way of his godly ones. We're not in this alone. The one we're supposed to fear also watches over us. It's not a one-way street in that way. Verse 9, then you will discern righteousness, justice, and integrity, and every good path. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be delightful to your soul. Let's highlight that as well. So wisdom enters the heart, and knowledge is delightful to the soul. I find that very, actually, that's worth just a moment of reflection here, of seeing that wisdom here is entering our heart. We think of wisdom as something that enters our mind, but in this particular case, wisdom is actually entering our heart. And knowledge, again, something that's in the head, is delightful for our soul. I just find that really, first of all, fascinating. And second of all, just really awesome. That's the way that's structured. So just thought I'd share that. That's just a fun little distinction there that we may not think about, but there is a delight beyond just the knowing of it. Let's move on to verse 11. Discretion will watch over you. Understanding will guard you, to rescue you from the way of evil, from a person who speaks perverse things, from those who leave the path of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who delight in doing evil and rejoice in the perversity of evil, whose paths are crooked and who are devious in their ways, to rescue you from the strange woman, from the foreign woman who flatters with her words, who leaves the companion of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house, 18, for her house sinks down to death, and her tracks lead to the dead. None who go to her return, nor do they reach the paths of life. So you will walk in the way of good people and keep to the paths of the righteous. That verse 20, let's highlight that whole thing here. And I want to make that green because it's an action item for me. Walk in the way of good people. Keep to the paths of the righteousness, keep to the path of the righteous. In other words, we don't have to, like I said, we don't have to discover this on our own. We've got examples. We can walk with the wise to become wise. Verse 21, for the upright will live in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be eliminated from the land. The treacherous will be torn away from it. So yeah, that's good stuff for that. That's hefty. Yeah, actually, let's. I just realized that this is the second time in a row that I have not really had to highlight anything for follow up kind of things. But that makes me wonder. I think we'll just do some cross referencing anyway, just because I enjoy it. So I tell you what, let's go with the suggestion here of doing the NIV as a cross reference here, and yeah, I've done very similar um, um, highlighting here. Verse 4, for example, in today's NASB, the tongue twister. If you seek her as silver and search for her as hidden treasures. In the other one, it says in the NIV, it says if you look for her, look for it as for silver and search for it as hidden treasure. So it's it being wisdom and her being wisdom. it's calling those both out, and we're to seek them the same way we would. So I do find that interesting that the NIV just took the path of the non, I guess you could say non-gendered um, there, and other translations tend to go towards the her and actually calling it out as a female character consistently. In fact, I'm looking at the NIV and looking for this having any kind of um, her language. I'm not seeing it. Interesting. But the verse 5 is almost identical. Uh, in the NASB, it says, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and discover knowledge of God. And in NIV, it says, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. So, yeah, just a nuance there. And yeah, so the yeah, these are just very subtle little nuances here. Very, very subtle. Um, for example, verse 20. So you will walk in the way of good people and keep to the paths of the righteousness of the righteous. And in NIV it says, thus you will walk in the ways of good and keep to the paths of the righteous. Very, very subtle. Um, so the upright, verse 21 says, the upright will live in the land and the blameless will remain in it. Um, that is literally, I think, the same words. Yeah, word for word on that one. But in the NIV, I had highlighted the land just to kind of pose that question as to what the land is. And I'm not sure we actually found any distinctions there. Go to the Amplified and see if there's any expansions that they brought up. No, it's just the land, which I would just assume is just a reference to Israel, although that wasn't really. Yeah, it was a little different in the time of Solomon, and so, but it was just kind of assumed. Let's see here. Want to say anything else in the Amplified that I want to bring up today? I don't think so. I think it really does come down to that. Sorry, now I've got a kitty cat climbing on my desk and keyboard. Goodness gracious me. He knows better than this. He knows better. Little jerk. um, but in terms of the action steps here, pretty clearly we're seeing a character of the one we should be seeking after and the one we should be avoiding. And this comes up a lot in especially in the earlier chapters of Proverbs that we see more of this kind of back and forth, be one, not the other kind of things, and you find that in between. And so, yeah, but there's warnings here that are especially for young men. There's actually, it's funny, we just recently read Proverbs 31, and the thing that always comes up is it's like, why is there all this instruction to women? It's like, yeah, because the entire rest of Proverbs is just a bunch of instructions to young men. It's just like you're just getting pummeled with them. Um, do this, not that kind of stuff. It's really uh, kind of, and it makes sense, right? It was written to a young man, and so if these were being written to a daughter, it'd be very different, I'm sure. And there probably were, you know, ways of sharing wisdom in fairly consistent ways with women back then, but we don't have those written down. We have this written down, so it is what it is, right? Um, it's not to say that women weren't being guided that way. And in fact, it becomes pretty clear when you read Proverbs 31, especially, that there were obviously guidance given towards to women to be upright and have certain ways of living that are they're part of their character. And so, but in this case, the foreign woman is brought up, the strange woman, and we'll see more about her as a character uh, pretty soon here. And so we'll leave with that today. Actually, don't leave with that. Let's leave with something better. Let's just reiterate verse 20 here. So you will walk in the way of good people and keep to the paths of the righteous. It is just a good highlight and a note for our days to just when it comes to walking the way of good people, we we don't always realize that we emulate, and it just becomes a natural thing for us, and we may be unaware of us doing it. And so it's very important to choose the people you associate with, and make sure that they are trustworthy in that way, that they are people that are following the same kind of wisdom and being people that are exercising the fear of God exclusively, and not being fearful of whatever the world has going on this week. Or I guess we're kind of down to hour by hour at this point, aren't we? We're not really in that kind of mode where the headlines arrive, a week. Here's what happened last week, kind of news articles. Now we're in the moment now, and so we've shortened our fear cycle substantially, and so the way around that is to, one, avoid it. Just don't make that part of your life, and two, fill your life with those that are walking in the path of righteousness, and so you'll keep to those paths yourself, and you don't have to worry about the various things going on in the world because they don't apply to you. You're just gonna opt out of those fears. So I hope that's helpful to you today, and I do want to remind everyone that in a couple of weeks we do have the Seed Suite for Christ Saviors Summit, and we have it's going on in Dallas. It'll be January 14th to the 16th, and code below there, and you'll be able to attend on me as far as the main sessions. There are some VIP options if you want to meet with Kevin Sorbo. There are some options for that. He is the headliner, the keynote speaker, I guess you could say. But yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Going to be a lot of various speakers that are there. It is a summit in that way, so they have a lot of cool topics, everything from kind of more personal development to even some business topics and just some general personal encouragement kind of things. So come and get some perspectives, and yeah, I'll hope to see you there. So in any case, yeah, that's good for today. I do hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is a restful season for you. We'll start talking more about, getting motivated and all that kind of stuff in the coming days. But because it's the season for it, as this is January, I'm recording this. So yeah, hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be blessed by the best, and then go be a blessing to all the rest. Love you guys.